Hello, my name is Rebecca Minton and my student ID is 32673223. This is my presentation for EDN 441 Assignment 3 on what kind of a HASS teacher I want to become. When thinking about this question, the first thing I did was to start to have a look at what HASS is. On the School's Curriculum and Standards Authority website, it says, Humanities and social sciences is the study of human behaviour and interaction in social, cultural, environmental, economic and political contexts. Humanities and social sciences has a historic and contemporary focus from personal to global contexts and considers opportunities and challenges for the future. It goes on to say, by studying humanity and social sciences, students will develop the ability to question, think critically, make decisions based on evidence, devise proposals for action, and communicate effectively. That is a very important thing for students to know. And surprisingly, it doesn't have much value in some schools. The last school I did my prac at in the classroom, HASS wasn't even on the timetable. Very interesting. That's not the kind of teacher, the HASS teacher, that I want to be. I find HASS very important in the classroom. And some things that I find important when it comes to teaching HASS is building positive relationships with my students. Developing positive relationships between a teacher and a student is a fundamental aspect of quality teaching and student learning. Bigelow says, whenever possible, connect your classroom discussions and curriculum to students' lives, communities and culture. Learn as much as you can about your students. Positive teacher-student relationships promotes a sense of school belonging and encourages students to participate cooperatively. Students develop confidence to experiment and succeed in an environment where they are not restricted by fear of failure. I will assist students with motivation and goal setting, encouraging students to turn to me for advice and guidance. Because, as John Hattie says, establishing a positive and supportive classroom environment combined with productive relationships between teachers and students will provide them with a platform in which students are encouraged and motivated to grow both academically and personally. Building a positive relationship has a big impact on participation in the classroom, which is my next point. In participation, it is important to keep lecturing short. Have students regularly doing projects, reading, giving presentations, engaging in discussions, debating, doing role plays, and taking part in simulations is important for participation. This is what keeps students engaged. Motivating and engaging a classroom of students in learning is a constant challenge to teachers. Some ways I will try to be engaged. Some ways I will try to engage students and keep them motivated is to make the lessons meaningful. Aiming for full engagement, it is essential that students perceive activities as being meaningful. Research has shown that if students do not consider a learning activity worthy of their time and effort, they may not engage in a satisfactory way or may even disengage completely. To keep students motivated and engaged, I will use a range of activities based on what I have learnt about them and on what they are interested in and enjoy. Obviously, you can't please every student all the time, but making it as enjoyable for majority of students and trying to motivate those other students in the lesson that you're doing is important. In a problem-posing education, Shaw says, in this democratic pedagogy, The teacher is not fulfilling empty minds with official and unofficial knowledge, but is posing knowledge in any form as a problem for mutual inquiry. When problem posing situates itself in the language and perceptions of students, their diverse cultures are built into the study. One way of including problem posing education in the classroom is by using inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is a form of active learning. This starts by posing questions, problems, or scenarios. It contrasts with traditional education, which generally relies on the teacher presenting facts of his or her knowledge about the subject. Inquiry-based learning is often assisted by a facilitator rather than a lecturer. Inquirers will identify and research issues and questions to develop knowledge or solutions. Inquiry-based learning includes problem-based learning. Some ways and activities to include this in the classroom is by documenting personal experiences, by using narratives of family events, accidents and stories, by sharing other people's stories and experiences, and interviewing people, gathering newspaper readings, and using simulation activities. My next point is creating democratic classrooms. Democratic classroom is a place where students are regularly involved in decision-making processes with regard to the classroom learning environment. Those decisions can include creating classroom rules and expectations, determining students' and teachers' responsibilities, and in some cases, setting the goals and objectives of the class, deciding on the content to be covered, and coming up with methods of assessment. When students have a role in determining the way their classrooms are run, they are more likely to buy into the structure, respect the policies and procedures, and, if they do have grievances, air their complaints in an appropriate manner that will allow them to seek change proactively rather than misbehaving, acting out, or being disrespectful. When students have a role in determining the way their classrooms are run, they are more likely to buy into the structure. Dewey argues that the purpose of education is to increase the student's ability to make meaning from their experiences and to act on it. Education succeeded when it has increased the student's ability to learn, to act on learning, and want more learning. School should be an experience that teaches each student through example what it means to be part of a democratic community. Some ways to include this in the classroom is by using autobiographies for the students to learn about who they are and where they came from, by getting to know each other, and by sharing with each other, by using cooperative games and group projects, by creating rules and a constitution, by honouring difference, by teaching respect, that not everyone is the same, but that's okay, and by reflecting on what we have learnt and need to know, by including visitors in the classroom, and using conferencing. So, what kind of a HASS teacher do I want to be? I want to be a teacher who is committed to ensuring that children can achieve their full academic and personal potential, and that can establish fair, respectful, trusting, supportive, and constructive relationships. That's the kind of teacher I want to be. I want my students to demonstrate positive values and behaviours. This is a list of my references. Thank you for listening to my presentation.